Okay, so this little black box is a Raspberry Pi. It's a Raspberry Pi 5. It's running a Linux-based operating system. It's also running pretty much a full-fledged version of N.I.N.A with PhD2. And you can access the whole power of N.I.N.A, which supports flat panels, which supports domes, which supports all sorts of stuff, with the advanced sequencer, with the N.I.N.A plugins as well, in the power of all of this. And I'll show you that it can control my equipment here, and I'll show you how you can test this out on your own with a Raspberry Pi to run N.I.N.A, and so that you can get rid of Windows and its really annoying updates and its propensity to restart for no reason in the middle of the night. So you have access to the best control software out there, which is N.I.N.A. Although this is not N.I.N.A itself. Let me be clear, actually. This is called Pins. It is a fork of N.I.N.A, and the N.I.N.A developers are not affiliated with this at all. Okay? So if you have issues when you're testing this closed beta, you ask those questions in the Pins Discord, not in the N.I.N.A Discord, right? So this is a completely different project. It uses N.I.N.A as its base. It has N.I.N.A as a fork that it uses because N.I.N.A is open source and so is Pins. Yeah, just like fair warning, I'll have the links to everything you need down in the description. Do not go into the N.I.N.A Discord and ask questions about N.I.N.A on Raspberry Pi or on Linux. Go to the Pins Discord, link in description, and ask your questions there, right? Let's be nice to the N.I.N.A developers. They're not responsible for this, so don't bother them about it. Okay, with that warning out of the way, yes, this is pretty awesome, and let me show you how you can build this and also how it's going to work on my equipment. This video does not have using this little box under the stars yet because the weather hasn't been accommodating, but I'll show you how to use the flat wizards, how it can control the whole equipment, how you can create your sequences with the advanced sequencer, everything. So stay tuned. I'll have chapters down below as well, so you know exactly what's going on and you can skip to the section that you like. But yeah, without further ado, let me show you how you can build your very own little Raspberry Pi with Pins, a fork of N.I.N.A on it. Let's go. So how do you join the open beta that lets you test out this amazing little version of N.I.N.A that's running on a Raspberry Pi 4 or Raspberry Pi 5 on the Linux-based operating system, so you're no longer subject to all of the Windows shenanigans that are really annoying to us? Well, first things first, you need to get yourself a Raspberry Pi 4 or Raspberry Pi 5. I went with a Raspberry Pi 5 because, you know, higher number should be better. I kind of regret not going for a Raspberry Pi 4 because the Raspberry Pi 5 is more demanding in terms of power input. It actually requires 5 volt, 5 amps, which is a bit annoying. With the Raspberry Pi 4, I would have been able, because it's 5 volt, 3 amps as input, I would have been able to use it directly with my SVBony SV241 non-pro power box, and I could have used their power-only USB outputs to power the Raspberry Pi 4 without any issues, I believe. Whereas with the Raspberry Pi 5, it complains about low voltage whenever I do that. It works, but it complains, and so I had to get another adapter from AliExpress that lets me convert 12 volt output into 5 volt 5 amps. So let me show you all of that. So when you get your Raspberry Pi 4, I recommend getting a kit like something like this. I'll put links, by the way, of course, to everything down in the description, so you can, you know, purchase whatever makes sense. So here it's a Raspberry Pi 4. We can look at kits with the Raspberry Pi 5 if you're interested. So there we go. And I would recommend at least 8 gigs of RAM, regardless of which one you go for. And here it comes with a tiny little USB adapter for a 120 gigs microSD card, which it also comes with. And you will need that to basically write the pins like N.I.N.A on a Raspberry Pi image to that microSD card and then slid that into the Raspberry Pi. So that's Raspberry Pi 4, this is Raspberry Pi 5, and again, you need that little adapter. It would be very convenient to have. And if you went for the Raspberry Pi 5, you definitely want something like that, especially if you're going to use this little Raspberry Pi with the SV241, which I highly recommend because it works great together. But you need this adapter, which lets you get like 5 volts, 5 amp output from an input of 12 volts. And then if, again, you went with the Raspberry Pi 5, you need to be able to get the 12 volts DC adapter. This is good for the SV241 because you'll be able to plug that into one of the outputs of the SV241 and then use the little screws there to connect to the wires from this little adapter from AliExpress. And then you'll have the USB-C output that you'll be able to plug into the Raspberry Pi 5. That's why it adds complexity. I really recommend the Raspberry Pi 4, I guess, to avoid that. Hopefully, I can't say for sure because I don't have a Raspberry Pi 4 to double check. And here is the little power box that I would recommend to use with this, which is the SV241 Non-Pro, which I've already reviewed on the channel. And it has some cool features in that here it has 2 USB ports that are not used for data at all. They're just used for power. And together they can output up to 5 volt 8 amps, which means that one of them should be able to output 5 volt 4 amps, which is not enough for the Pi 5, but should be enough, fingers crossed, I don't know for sure, for the Pi 4. So once you have those two, you start to get good to go. And that's when you want to have like a nice case for the Raspberry Pi. So if you went with one of the kits, you already have the case. You can also 3D print your own case. You know what I'm talking about if you've watched my video about 3D printers used for astrophotography. I'll put the link up above and down in the description if you're interested. And I'll have the links to all of that stuff in the description so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so now we're ready on the hardware side of things. Now we need to get the image for pins for that version of N.I.N.A for Raspberry Pi. For that, we head to their Discord. Again, I'll have the link down in the description. In the Discord, you want to go to Pins News, and in there will be a link to the image. Well, you need to just click on this. You'll be able to then download the image. And then after you've downloaded the image, you want to go to a website called Balena Etcher, which is free. It's a software that will let you write the image into the microSD card using the adapter that hopefully came with your Raspberry Pi kit. So you just download it, install it, plug the adapter in, and run Balena Etcher. So let's go. And here I want to flash from file, and I'm going to select the image file that I downloaded just now. So let's go to my image file. So I'm just selecting it as is. I click on open. Then I select my target, which is my tiny SD card. So by default, Balena Etcher will only display external drives. Make sure that you do not select one of the drives that's already in your PC because otherwise you can destroy everything on that drive and that would not be pleasant. So don't do what I did, don't click on the additional options. Actually, I'm just gonna cancel and click again just to be absolutely sure. Just make sure you select the thing that corresponds to your SD card, select one and then click on flash and then let's wait until this is done. And once it's done, you can just remove the USB adapter for your microSD card, remove the microSD card from that, and insert it into the Raspberry Pi 4 or Raspberry Pi 5 before starting it via USB. So let me show you once it's done. Okay, I've actually finished with the image being written on the microSD card. So I'm taking my microSD card and now I just need to insert it into the slot on the Raspberry Pi 5 that I have. So I just insert it, it's now in, and now we're gonna just start up the Raspberry Pi 5. For that, I just need to connect it to a USB-C power source that is powerful enough. If you use like a phone charger that is something like 30 watts, you should be fine with a Raspberry Pi 5. With a Raspberry Pi 4, pretty much anything should work. So I'm going to connect to it, and then I'm going to wait until I see a Wi-Fi network using my phone that is called pins-something. Okay, so now I'm actually looking at the Wi-Fi networks that are available, and I see that there is a pins-69, nice, E78 there. So that means that it has booted up properly, and I can actually connect to this network. The password is touch and stars, and click connect. We are now connected to it. On Android, it will ask you like, hey, you have like something that's not connected to the internet. Do you really want to use that? Yes. So tap for options. Don't ask again for this network. Yes, I want to use this network. Now I can go ahead and open the Touch N Stars app. And now the goal is to connect to the Touch N Stars device. So I'm going to go to Settings, click on Scan here, and it should find the Touch N Stars instance on a specific address. Like if you see 10.42.0.1, it's good. We can validate. Click on Add. Click the little checkbox there so that it's active. And now we are connected to Touch N Stars, and we have tons of icons here at the top. The interesting one is the pins icon here. And one thing that you'd want to do is you need to give access to your little pins device to the internet, right? So either you connect it to your home Wi-Fi or you connect it via a LAN cable directly to your router. If you want to do it via Wi-Fi, you would need to go to this page here, tap here to have it scan for Wi-Fi networks, select whatever Wi-Fi you want, put in the password in there, and then ideally you want to auto-connect to selected Wi-Fi after boot so that it's now starting in station mode, meaning it connects to your Wi-Fi. Your phone is also connected to your Wi-Fi and they can see each other on the same network. But I'm not going to do that because it feels a bit flaky from time to time, and I had to restart the Raspberry Pi from time to time to make sure it works. I want to have it emitting its own hotspot instead, which it does anyway in station mode if it doesn't find the Wi-Fi network, but regardless. And I'm just going to plug it in directly over an internet cable to make sure that I have everything working fine. So I'm going to turn that off and connect this Raspberry Pi via the Ethernet plug here directly to a LAN cable. And now that it's done, my little Raspberry Pi has access to the internet. If you were using Wi-Fi, you would actually lose connection from here. So you would need to make sure you reconnect to your home network and then go through the little process of scanning for N.I.N.A instances via the scan button here. For me, it's not needed because now I have a little pins device that is connected to the internet and I'm connected to its hotspot at the same time. So I want to go to the little pins Raspberry Pi icon here to now start an upgrade. You can see there's some error messages there because it was not able to connect to the internet up to now, but now it should be able to connect to the internet. So I'm going to start upgrade, and now we wait. The only thing we do is we wait and we make sure that in that text here there's no error messages. So I let it do its stuff. If you let your screen time out, you might get an error like, hey, this timed out. Just let it be. Like, give it 10 minutes, go grab a coffee, some tea, whatever, and then come back and the update should be over. To make sure, I'll show you once it's done on my side what to do to make sure that it's actually over. And while it was updating, we lost connectivity to it, and that's probably because one of the packages that it updated was like internet drivers and Wi-Fi hotspot like cut off. So yeah, we just need to wait a bit and then try to reconnect to it. Okay, after a while, it's reconnected in the app. So it had indeed lost connection. You can see the red errors about the lost connections, network error. That's fine. Let's double check that everything went well by tapping on Start Upgrade. And that's it. We get green message at the end. It means that everything was done. So really the process is make sure it has access to the internet. It's easier if you have a LAN cable rather than over Wi-Fi. Then start upgrade from the app, wait 20-30 minutes, come back, and then click on Start Upgrade again to double check that everything went well. So it's a bit of work to get it set up, but now it's actually ready. So let's go and set it up on the SV241 on my equipment to show you what it looks like. So here's my equipment. I have the ASCAR SQA 55. I have a ZWAF. I have a full frame camera from TaupeTech. I have a guide camera from TaupeTech on an off-axis guider. And I have the SV-Bony 241 power box, right? So let's set up the Raspberry Pi There we go. And what I do is I typically make sure that basically the equipment is connected to the SV241 here, whereas the Raspberry Pi itself is only connected to the hub, because the SV241 acts as a powered hub, and I found that it was more stable that way. So what I do is I make sure that the PC port of the SV241 connects to one of the USB 3 ports on the Raspberry Pi, and then my little power input for the Raspberry Pi is this 5 volt, 5 amp output from 12 volts. So I have here the 12 volt adapter that goes through the 2 cables, exactly as I explained earlier. And then here we have USB-C, and that USB-C is enough to power the Raspberry Pi 5. And there it is, the Raspberry Pi 5 now is connecting. If you are using a Raspberry Pi 4, it would be enough to just connect one of those 5 volt out ports directly there via a good cable, like those cables that support 15 watts, or some of are advertised as 18 watts. You don't care about the data speed, but you need a good cable, and then it would just work. So that's one of the drawbacks of using a Raspberry Pi 5. If I had known, I wouldn't have gone for it. It gets a bit busy in terms of stuff that we have here, but now it should be working. I've waited a couple of minutes, and the pin 69E78 network is available, so I'm going to connect to it and go back to the Touch and Stars app. Hopefully it's going to be able to find the connection. If not, it means that N.I.N.A has not properly started on the Raspberry Pi yet, and we just need to wait a little bit. So let's wait a little bit. I've waited 30 seconds, and now we're in. I have all of the stuff in there. We're no longer connected to the internet, but now I can use Touch and Stars connected to N.I.N.A as usual, with all of the power of controlling all of your equipment, flat panels and rotators and everything like that. So what I can do is I can go to my equipment profile. I'm going to go default here, and my camera is detected. It is the Toptech Sky i24AC, that guy here. Now I'm connected. That works. The mount is LX200 on step Indy. So this is the excellent ML Astro SAL33 mount, and we'll be able to connect to it. You may need to go into Indy setup here and make sure that for the mount, you've selected LX200 on step before this Indy thing is available. Also, for some Indy drivers, you may want to go into the pins setting here and search for third-party drivers for Indy. I think normally you need to have internet connectivity for that to work. So that's something where you would connect your little Raspberry Pi to the internet, go to the Pins tab, search for third-party drivers like Astro Oasis, Focuser, that kind of stuff, and then you have them available in the Indy Setup tab. But some drivers are available by default. For instance, there's the Gemini flat panel, which I use, and that's available, and it actually works. I've tested it. So here I can select LX200 on step, connect, and it connected to the mount. I had a little bit of an issue. I first had to go in the little gear icon here, unselect auto search, and make sure I had like USB 0 selected. And now I was able to connect to the mount without issue. The focuser should be ZWEF. Let's see if it hasn't found it yet. Let me refresh with the double arrows here. And it's there. The EF is available. And we're connected to it. The guide camera, let's see if it found the GA3M662M, which I have here. So it's there. And I can connect to PHD2 now that I have a guide camera selected. So PHD2 is now connected to N.I.N.A. And that's it from me. But you know, you can connect to the filter wheel, a rotator. Actually, I'm going to connect a manual filter wheel, so that I can keep track of which filters I'm using for my imaging and which flat frames I'm using here. So that can be useful. And you can also control a dome, you can control a switch, you can control a lot of stuff. But here it is, we have the main equipment connected. If I go to the camera tab, I can take a 3-second exposure, and I should get, well, a dark frame because I have the cover on. Let's see whether it works. And yes, we have a 3-second exposure from my full frame camera here. No issues, right? If I go to the I tab, it's about focus, so I can move the focuser a little bit. Let's see what happens if I do this. Yes, it moves. No worries. It works. How amazing is that? There we go. It's working. If I go to, and I could start an autofocus, obviously it's not correct now. By the way, the camera, I can go to the settings and change, let's say I want to have, gain 100. Maybe my offset will be 50, validate, and I want to use high conversion gain there. I can go to the cooler tab and say I want to cool down the camera to not minus 50, but minus 10. There it is. And I can put my cooling time to basically 0 for the minimum, and just turn on the cooler for the camera. And I hear the fan spinning, so the camera cooling has started. I can also turn on the dew heater, because this camera has an integrated dew heater. And for this kind of camera, strength 2 is usually more than enough. 4 is super hot. So there it is. And I can select filters, but for now, from my manual filter wheels, I only have one filter created. So I can go to my filters and say, actually, filter settings. The first filter would be called L for luminance. I don't have any filter offset because, yes, now you can do autofocus with filter offset, which you cannot do with pretty much anything else that's nice and automated like that, and say autofocus time is 4. And I can add a second filter, which is, right now I have an HA03 filter in there from Altair. And I'm going to put it and say that I want my autofocus time to be 8 with that filter. And now if I go back to the camera, to the settings, I can go back to filter and we can change between filters like that. So it's a manual filter change, and it's just for me to keep track of my flat frames. So it just works out. If I go to the mount tab, you can see that the mount is parked right now. So I can unpark the mount, and I can move the mount around. So I'm not sure if you see it, but the mount is now working fine. I mean, it's moving, and that's nice. So it's just working like that, nothing to do, and I can tell it to go back home. There it is, the mount is going back home, and then I can actually park it. Okay, the mount is parked again, but this is where you can slew to some items. Actually, let me unpark it, go to the slew tab here, and say, okay, we're gonna go for some whatever visible star. We could open it in Framing Assistant. We could do a lot of stuff, but I'm just going to click on slew to show you that it's immediately going to search for that particular star and slew to it. It's not going to solve automatically, I believe. Actually, I think if I had gone to the settings first, I could have told it to slew and solve, like the ASI Air, but that's not currently needed, right? So I just let it slew, let it slew, let it slew until it's done. And there we go, and you can see that if I clicked on the gear icon, I could tell it to slew, center, and rotate. If I had a rotator, I don't have a rotator, so there it is. We're in the middle of the day, it's cloudy. I'm not going to tell it to center, and I'm actually going to go back to the mount tab here and say park, because I want it to park. And then besides slew, you have 3-point polar alignment, which works great. I cannot show you right now, but I'll show you as soon as I have good weather. And we have also the meridian flip settings, and this uses currently the default settings from N.I.N.A, which work well and allow you to image through the meridian. We've already looked at the filter wheel. There's the guide tab, so I could tell it to take exposures just to see what we get. It's going to loop through the guide camera, and we can see the guide camera is there, but it's not doing anything because it's during the day where we cannot guide. So I'm going to stop everything. And then we have fun stuff like the sequence tab. But that sequence tab, it's easier not to use directly, so I'll get back to it in a moment. We already have the flat assistant, and yes, it works if you have a flat panel connected. So for instance, I can take my Gemini flat panel that I got off of AliExpress. I can tell the mount to not be parked anymore. I can go back to the flats wizard here, tell it to slew to zenith, wait until it has slew to zenith, connect the flat panel over USB to the SV241 hub, put it, actually remove the dust cap from the telescope, put the flat panel on, and now I can say my mean target for the histogram is 30% rather than the default 50. My filter is HA03 because that's what I actually have in my filter drawer right now. I want to take 10 flats. My exposure time, I'm putting 3 seconds because it's a rather dark filter. So I want to make sure we can attain this. I let the other parameters be the same, and then I'm going to start auto brightness, and it should. Oh, and it's not going to work yet because obviously I haven't connected the flat panel. I need to go to my equipment tab, flat device, select the Gemini flat panel. I'm going to put the settings. I'm also going to tell it to use just USB, and hopefully it's going to find the Gemini flat panel. Okay, now the flat panel is connected. This time, actually, to make it work, I had to do auto search. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. So with the flat panel connected here, I can go back to my Flats Wizard and start auto brightness, and immediately you can see the flat panel getting brighter. N.I.N.A is looking for the right. Oh, I'm going to stop it because it has told me HA03. So HA03 there. So now I'm letting it go, and I'm going to just let it be. We see the previews at the bottom because this is an HA03 filter with the IMX. I don't remember the name of that sensor, and there we get those weird flat panel patterns, but currently it's looking for the perfect brightness of the flat panel to get 3-second exposures that gives me a good flat. Oh, but again, I forgot to set the mean histogram target to the right value. So I'm going to stop it again because I don't want that. And so instead, I'm going to say 30% rather than 50%. I don't know why N.I.N.A has 30% as the default. I don't know why N.I.N.A has 50% as the default. It's too high in a lot of cases. So I don't know why, but whatever. We're going to try again and let it do its thing, find the right brightness, and then just start the recording. Okay, and now it's actually taking the exposures. It has found the right brightness at the proper 30%. So the whole flat assistant from N.I.N.A, it's using the flat assistant from N.I.N.A in the background. It's just working as usual, right? There's no issue there. There's no mystery. It just works, and that's pretty awesome. Even though it's a beta, even though there's some weird stuff going on from time to time, it's still overall working, and it's fun to test out. There we go, we're done. I can go in my monitor here to look at the image history, and we can see our latest flat frames have been taken at the proper minus 10 degrees temperature, the mean, the standard dev, everything is there. And I think this is pretty amazing. So now that we're done with the Flat Wizard, what I can do is I can go to the equipment. We're going to disconnect the Gemini device. I'm going to go back to the mount and tell it to park itself. Bam. Oh, and by the way, before we go more into the details, there's the settings page that's super important. There's the settings page here that's super important, where I can set all of my parameters, including if I go to image, you get the usual parameters from N.I.N.A. You can change the file name pattern as well, edit the tokens. For instance, I don't like having session date. I just want to have like the type of frames, and it's going to save to light and that. And the file type fits is usually fine. I can choose my equipment. So here we have the sensor size, but I need to put in my telescope information so that plate solving will work. I'm going to put my focal length at, I think it's 264 millimeters. Focal ratio is 4.8. No, not a number, 4.8. There we go. And we're good. Plugin management. That's where you can put in plugins. You have a LifeStack plugin that actually works. You have a log file collector to find issues. You have a narrowband filter calculator based on a video that I made a year ago or something like that. I'll show you that in a moment. Observation planner, PlateSolve Plus, sequence creator, super important. Telescopius to get data from telescopius.com if the Raspberry Pi, I think, is connected to the internet. All sorts of stuff, and then you have like Hocus Focus, so much stuff in there. And VNC Remote. VNC Remote gives you this, which means that I can actually connect to the desktop that lies underneath all of that. So that's where N.I.N.A is running without any UI. It's running as a background process, and then you have PhD2 here running as a UI. But at the top, those plugins appear. You have the file collector here. We have the narrowband filter calculator. If you put your aperture, let's say for me, it's 55 millimeters. This is a bit, there's some bit weird, like the keyboard appears but doesn't work. So I need to use this thing here. There, oh, yeah, so there's a bit interface bugs, let's see. Very annoying. Okay, 264, no central obstruction. And for my filter characteristics, let's say this was a sulfur 2. Let's say I have a sulfur 2 filter, and you can see like it tells me, will my filter work well with my telescope? Yes, 99% transmission. That's available in normal N.I.N.A as well. But it's so awesome that someone went ahead. Let's make it less flat top. Pop. Let's say 1 nanometer flat top, something like that, and I'm still at 97.1% with my telescope. So it's great because it tells you whether your narrowband filter is going to work well with your telescope directly from within N.I.N.A or from within the Touch and Stars app. I love this. There's the Life Stack application. There's the Telescopio stuff. There's the advanced sequencer in there. I mean, there's tons of stuff. It's insane what's in there, and there's so many things that can be done. One of the things that we need to look at is the stellarium, which tells us what's in the sky right now, or let's say at 8 p.m. Validate, and then I can search for targets. I don't know, M31. Is M31 still in the sky? Or flaming star nebula. Can I search for flaming? Yes, very nice. Okay, and then I can tap on set as sequence target. It tells me no sequence is loaded. Oh, okay, so that would be nice though to have, right? So what I need to do is go to the sequence creator, and here there's a template sequence that's, you know, just does stuff. Let's say that you have 120-second exposure, so I could say, no, I want to take 300-second exposures there, right? And validate that, and the camera gain, offset are unchanged, 1x1 binning. There's an image count there, but you can modify that quite a bit. So I'm just going to let it be as a sample sequence. And now I'm going to tap the green icon. What that does, if I confirm, is that it creates a sequence with the default M31 Andromeda galaxy here, right? But if I go back to my stellarium, and I'm on the flaming star, and I say set to sequence target. Now if I go back to my sequence tab here, we should see, yes, that the target has the proper coordinates, 517, 34, 24. If I go back to stellarium, 517, 34, 24. It's inherited the name of some other star, I guess. Whatever. Maybe it's a bug, I don't know. But we have all of the information here, including the smart exposure there for 100 exposures. But okay, now that we have this particular sequence created, maybe instead of using smart exposures with a certain number of exposures, I want to do my own loop and loop until like 30 degrees above horizon, right? Or loop until astronomical dawn. So I could add a deep sky instruction set and say that my condition is loop until time, and I'm going to select time is going to be astronomical dawn there. And I'm going to add another condition, loop until altitude is below 30 degrees. Yeah, that makes sense. Right, so now we have loop until time, loop until altitude is below something. And then within there, I can put in my take exposure. So we're going to take a single exposure. I'm going to edit it. Somehow there's a bug with the gain. I'm going to say it's definitely 100, and now it's fine. And then I can say it's 300-second exposures. Validate that. I keep my offset. I make sure that my binning is 1/1. And now with that, we're using the advanced sequencer in N.I.N.A in this graphical user interface where we're going to slew and center, start guiding, run autofocus, and I can remove my smart exposure now. Bam! And so now I have my proper loop until some specific conditions, which is exactly what I wanted, and that gives me more control over everything. And I want to add triggers as well, because I want my trigger for meridian flip. So I can search for meridian flip. I think those triggers should be put in directly in there without me having to do anything. But maybe I want to add another trigger like recenter after drift. So for instance there, I can say that every 10 exposures or 12 exposures, so every hour, we're going to check whether the target has drifted off center for whatever reason, and then recenter it, right? So we can choose our triggers there. And there's another trigger that's very important, autofocus, right? So we have the usual stuff from N.I.N.A, autofocus after HFR increase, autofocus after filter change, autofocus after number of exposures, after temperature time, after temperature change, after time. So I'm going to say like autofocus every 60 minutes, right? So we are building our session sequence exactly as I would under N.I.N.A, right? And you can see how powerful this is because this is the full sequence generator or the full sequence editor from N.I.N.A available here. So it's the advanced editor. You have a very basic version that honestly should have those meridian flip and autofocus triggers in there by default. So yeah, please enhance that. Oh, there it is. The meridian flip was there. Okay, so I didn't need to add the meridian flip. Sorry about that. So let's remove the meridian flip. But center after drift, that's fine. Autofocus after time, it would be nice to have it in the default template, right? But otherwise, this is fine, and this will let me basically take images of my of my target without issue. And I can add more stuff. I want to say that, yeah, I want to make sure that my dew heater is on before the session starts. I want to, do stuff, right? I can say also that at the end, I want to disconnect all of the equipment after those instructions are done. So basic sequence end, and then disconnect all equipment, that kind of stuff. And then we can start the sequence. I'm going to save this guy because I like this guy. So I'm just going to say flaming test. Save. There it is. That way I'll be able to reload it whenever I want to have access to it. And if we go back, by the way, to Stellarium, we search for our flaming star nebula. If I tap on the little rectangles at the bottom, I can also choose my framing there. So that's, let's say, my framing. That's what I want. And now I could say set sequence to target with that proper framing. There's no mosaics yet. For mosaics, you would have to use the Telescopius plugin. But set sequence to target, and now if I go back to my sequence, there it is. We should see some slightly, yes, we see the slightly different numbers caused by the change of the field of view based on this framing wizard. So you can see it's really pretty much all of the power of N.I.N.A at your fingertips, which means that it is also more complex than DSi Air, right? But still, everything is in there, and there's some bugs, there's some issues, but overall, this is pretty amazing, and this is something that you can build today. Now, I've only used that under the stars once. I've had terrible weather, and it still continues, so as soon as I get good weather, I want to keep going with this to show you how it works under the stars. But for now, I wanted to start with this introduction about if you want to test this, how to go about it, and what should be your first steps in the software, and to show you that overall, despite it being in beta, overall it works. And I think that's pretty amazing to have a Raspberry Pi running Linux, then there's a N.I.N.A on top with PhD2, and then you connect to it and you control everything via Touch and Stars, which, by the way, I've been using the app here, but you can connect to Touch and Stars via your web browser, and you'll get the same interface basically. So then you're able to control everything from your PC without having to use an Android emulator or all that kind of BS that you need to do with some other control systems. Here it's available directly as, in your browser, nothing to do. So it just works pretty well, even though, again, it's fairly advanced, and it assumes that you know how the advanced sequencer in N.I.N.A works, right? So that's something to be careful about. With that, I hope this was useful. Let me know down in the comments if you're trying this out and whether you've had issues. Obviously, it's beta, which means that if you use it, do not leave your equipment unattended. Make sure you have limits set in your mount because, it can destroy your equipment, especially if you're using strain wave gear / harmonic drive mounts, right? So please be careful. It is a beta. Your equipment is important, and, don't let it run on its own. Be there for the meridian flip. Be there when it parks the mount, that kind of stuff, right? So choose a target that's gonna, set fairly quickly so that you can stay there to view everything and monitor everything. But overall, we have a lot of power in this tiny box. And yeah, let me know down in the comments. Like the video, it really helps the channel out. Thank you so much for watching till the end, because YouTube really looks at those statistics. If you want to help me out even more at no cost to you, and you're planning on buying anything from Amazon, like a Raspberry Pi, using my links down in the description, then if you do so, using my links, it will help me out at no cost to you. Also, like First Light Optics, High Point Scientific, Agena Astro, etc. Links in the description, help me out. And if you want to become a direct supporter, help me out directly and become a VIP member of the channel, you can join the channel as a member. It's the join button next to the subscribe button. Or you can join my Patreon. My Patreon is down in the description as a link. And you know it, guys, channel members, Patreon members, you make all of these videos possible because they are a lot of work. So thank you so much for making this possible and for your support. With that, thank you so much for watching. I hope this was useful. Don't forget, whenever you can, to look up at the clouds and the stars. And I'll see you next time.